But, you know, I think that's a nice segue actually to start talking about HyperFund. And, you know, Prash was the one that introduced this to me just a couple of months ago, and he'd been in it for a few months and really not given it too much attention, only because he'd had other things going on with low traffic networks and all sorts of crazy political clowns. There's clowns over there as there is over here as well, by the sound of it, doing silly things. But, you know, one of the things that HyperFund has done for me just in the last couple of months is it's given me back a little bit more control financially. And it's reminded me actually, because I've been lazy. I've been lazy because business has been good. And when things are good, it just feels like it's never going to go away. But it literally did go away. It completely stopped. The two businesses that I have, the other business that I have with my partner is a wedding photography business. And so when COVID started, that just kind of went poof and disappeared. Yeah. And all the speaking gigs that I had lined up last year just poof, disappeared. All the clients I had went away. And I was just scratching my head, wondering what was going to happen. And really what I did, well, I was just buying my time is what I was doing. And I was looking down and in at all the things that were going wrong. And I should have been looking up and out at all the other opportunities that were there. And that took me a couple of months to get there. So when Prash kind of showed me this just a few months ago, I decided straight away that if he says it's good, I trust him. He's done all the due diligence. I know what he's like. I just couldn't be bothered reading or watching or doing anything like that. So I figured I'd do my due diligence as I go. So I dived in, I got started, and that's kind of been my journey. It's been
Let's go all in, mate. Hang on, that is you. Go all in. That is the brand. There was a reason why you beat Tim Ferriss and all those guys at the #1 spot on iTunes, dude. Don't do yourself a disservice, dude. Like Kalpesh says, you know, be bold and broadcast yourself, right, Kalps? Put it out there. Absolutely. Celebrate the good stuff.
I'm interested. That's my journey. It's like pretty block standard. What about you, Kalpesh? Was it block standard for you as well? Did you see it and go, oh, that looks pretty good. I'll put a few bucks in it and then give it a go and see what happens? Tell us about how it worked for you.
I was a little bit more resistant because there was no proof, there was no evidence, there was no track record of anything when I saw it. So
early on,
it was literally the company speaking to a handful of people saying, we want to take this global. Are you up for it? And there was nothing. It was just
were you like just a vision. Looking around going, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So I actually took my time. A friend of mine showed this to me in November 2019. At the time, I just finished one corporate gig. So for the last 3 years, I've been doing trainings for the industry. And, companies bring me in, they fill the room, I get on stage, do my thing, and off I go. And it was comfortable. It was easy to do. It wasn't as exciting as building something, being in the trenches with people, but it was a direction I chose to go in 4 years ago now, because I couldn't see anything that was hitting my hotspot in terms of, do I want to build this? A lot of great stuff out there, but nothing that really, really got me going, wow, this is huge. I'm in. So I was just happy to do the training. Suddenly, such a blessing. So in October 2019, my last contract ended. I decided not to get a new contract in with any company because Christmas was coming up. And I thought I'm just going to take a couple of months with my family and chill out. And in that time, November, literally a month in, my friend showed me the opportunity and said, Kalps, can you please run your eyes over this? And his approach was, look, Kalps, I know you say no to everything. So I want you to say no to this, basically. It's like, can you please check this out? Because I say yes to everything. I keep getting burnt.
Oh, he was asking for himself. He wasn't showing you.
Yeah, exactly. So he thought it was good, but he thought loads of things were good that I turned down. So every time he came to me in the past, I'd be like, nope, that ain't going to work. Nope, that ain't going to work. Nope, that's no good. And he'd do it anyway because, entrepreneur and hopefully it will work out kind of thing, right? But, I know a little bit better. I've been doing it a long time. And because I became a trainer in the industry and a consultant in the industry, I've seen all sides of the Rubik's Cube, if you like. I see it from all different angles. So pretty much when things come along, I don't get dazzled by the pitch. I want to know what's behind the pitch and beneath the hood. So when I did that with this information, I called him back and said, Keith, the information you've given me, if this is correct, if I can verify its authenticity, this could be bigger than anything that's ever happened. And that was my fact find mission. After that, I spoke to his upline. Then I eventually spoke to corporate. And in those days, we could do that because it was new. And so they were open to speaking to leaders, to get them onboarded. 3 months of due diligence it took me.
Oh, gosh, a long time.
Yeah. And eventually at the end of Jan, I said, you know what, man, this is good to go. I can put my name to this because my brand as a speaker and a trainer is the thing that I'm protecting most because that's kind of my career. So all of a sudden, as soon as I've made that decision, like, and you guys understand this, you make a decision fueled by desire. My desire to create something spectacular, to break every record I've created in the past. I knew where I was going to take this, and off I went, and that was it. And so here we are, 16 months down the line, and broken every record I've ever created. And you know, I've been blessed to have created many records over the 25 years, but this has been in a class of its own, exceptional.
And has the prophecy held true? Like, this is going to be the biggest thing ever so far? Is that what's happening as you see it?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And the reason for that is not because the idea is so phenomenal, which it is, but who's executing the idea? The guys behind this project, they don't lose. Like, not like don't lose, but you know what I mean? They get so much right that what they lose becomes irrelevant. They have, it's like the formula I talked about, you know, as a kid, watching all my uncles and aunts go off and become successful. It's the formula. These guys have got the formula in the blockchain space. If you look at what they've done in 6 years, it's impeccable, world-class, and undisputed. And you sit there and go, if anyone's going to pull off the biggest blockchain IPO on the planet, it's these guys.
Yeah.
Everybody else might. These guys, highly likely. And so I'm like, yep, let's do this. I'm going to align with them. I'm aligned with that goal. Let's do it together.
Very nice. The one really great thing about HyperFund is you're making money pretty quickly. And so you're getting returns pretty quickly. Tell me about your experience in helping other people do that, because you can make a reasonable sum of money in a reasonable amount of time compared to other things that are out there and other opportunities and other businesses. And it goes to the very heart of that point we were talking about before, saying, if you want to take back control of your life and not be held ransom to a job or to a system or to customers and clients like I was, and I kind of still am in some ways, then this is an opportunity and a solution, right? So tell me about some of the people that you've helped and how that's affected you.
Robert, you know, one of the greatest things I love about this industry, and it gets a hard time because people don't understand it, but it is the one industry on the planet that actually works in such an effective and efficient way. And for the people, it's surreal. When you look at every other business model on the planet, and then you compare it to the direct selling industry, it's actually the industry of the future, but people just aren't educated enough or aware enough right now because we're so entrenched in other systems. But for me, this is the system of the future, where you can work your own hours, you choose your hours, and you choose who you work with. You can literally cherry pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no limit. There's no limit to what you can achieve because it's built on the power of leverage, and leverage has no limitations. So I love that anyway. That's what I fell in love with 25 years ago. And that's why I said, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And so with this company, where they've really, you know, if we talk about Uber and Airbnb and that kind of, you know, what's the shift? What's the breakthrough? What's the disruption here? The disruption here is a confluence of events coming together in a way that's never happened before. Number one, we're in the biggest trend in the history of mankind, which is blockchain.
Yep.
It's about to transform the planet. It's bigger than the internet. It's bigger than television. It's bigger than radio. It's bigger than mobile phones. It's bigger than all of it. And all of them have been great. But I know 50 years from now, the world is going to look back and go, oh my gosh, how did we ever live in a world without this technology? Just like we'd say now, how did we ever live in a world without the internet? How did we ever live in a world without mobile phones? This is that happening right now. We're in the middle of it right now. So number one, the fact that the biggest trend of all time is right in our midst. Number two, the biggest company inside of that biggest trend is our partner. They've decided out of the blue to partner with the people. Oh my gosh, which multi-billion-dollar company ever did that till now? Nobody. They kept it all to themselves.
Yep.
We built all of them. We built WhatsApp. We built Facebook. We built Airbnb. We built all of those businesses, right? Word of mouth. We all told each other how great those products and services and offerings were. What did we get out of it?
Zero.
Nothing. Nada. Yeah.
And suddenly a guy comes along and he could keep it all for himself. He's the number one guy in the world with it all. He's behind everything that's worth being behind. He could have continued down that path, but he switched on. He's, you know, when you start listening to this guy, he just switched on and he gets it. We're in a new time now. So he's like, listen, the best way forward is to partner with the public. bring them on side. That makes it bulletproof and rocket proof, because this is about the people. Blockchain technology is about, so it's perfect to bring the people in, isn't it? So he's just gone and done. Yeah, he's gone and done the obvious. Right? It's not obvious to people that don't get this stuff. He's a higher vibration thinker. So he's now partnering with the public for the next big success story on the planet. And he's designed it in a way that other owners of other direct selling companies cannot think. Because every other owner of every other direct selling company on the planet launches a direct selling company to make money from that company. That is their business. For Hypertech Group, HyperFund is not their business. It's not an income generator. It's not a profit asset. That's not what it was built for. It is a customer acquisition program. And so it's pure. It's really pure. There's no tricks, no hurdles. There's no hoops to get through, no crocodile pools to swim past, no fires to walk across, nothing. There's no qualifications and hidden agenda. It's a pure plan. So anyone that knows plans, when you study this, it's ridiculously simple and straightforward. And every single person that says yes, within 24 hours is receiving rewards, which means nobody loses, which means their mindset on day one is, wow, I'm a rock star. I just joined, and 24 hours later, I made money. Now you become invincible when you're talking to people. In every other company you've joined, and you're hoping you're going to make money. And the only way you make money is either you sell their products for retail and make a retail margin, which you might sell it one day and then not the next, so there's no ongoing income there, or you build a team. So you start recruiting people. Again, people struggle with that because they don't have communication skills. They lack confidence. They lack belief, all that stuff, right? That gets in the way of them doing all of that. Here, you've done nothing. You've joined. And all of a sudden, the next day, you're a rock star. You're a success story. You're already winning. With or without selling anything, with or without telling anybody, you've won. So now it automatically makes it easier to speak to people anyway. Because whether they say yes or no doesn't matter, because you're making money anyway. So what? So what if my brother says X, Y, Z? Guess what? I still get paid tomorrow.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Shifts the game. And so there's zero attrition, no revolving doors, nobody leaving, nobody canceling, none of that. Everyone that's in is locked in and staying. What a dream.
Why would you get out is my question.
Say that again?
Why would you get out?
Yeah, there's nothing to get out for.
Yep.
You're getting paid every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think this, you touch on an important point here, right, Kalpesh? The obvious thing that people say, and when we're sharing the opportunity or others are telling people, right, the obvious thing is it's too good to be true, right? And we know in life, most things are too good to be true. And yet here we find ourselves in a position, all of us who are in hyper, realizing or slowly realizing that actually this might be the exception to the rule. This might be the one thing that is actually that good and it's that true. So, as Rob was alluding to, what do you find, right? If there's something that good, it's rewarding people. People are making really good gains. People are actually setting themselves financially free or aiding themselves to set themselves financially free. People are helping charities. People are helping their families, leaving legacies, building legacies for their kids. All these things are possible here. And yet there are people saying, that's too good to be true. What are the common objections, right? The pyramids. What's coming up and how are you tackling those? What are the right answers?
Luckily for us, we have a company that is documented. And so we're not selling an idea. Where all of the other pyramid schemes, dodgy deals, Ponzi, scams, and they do exist in abundance. Literally, and that's why I turn everything down, as I say. I very quickly spot them. Most people don't, unfortunately, because they're looking through eyes of desperation, fear, greed, all of those mechanisms of operating. And so they make decisions that anyone with a little bit of insight and foresight wouldn't make. Luckily, touch wood, I've got enough experience to kind of not make those kind of decisions. And so when I look at this, and that's why I'm excited about it, it's the first time it's happened. Even the companies I've worked with in the past, as great as they've been, they've always had a higher risk because it's an owner that makes money from the model. And if the model's not making money, they'll shut it down or disappear. Or if it makes too much money and they've never seen that kind of money before, they run away with the money. It's open to all sorts of flaws. Here, none of that exists. First of all, these guys have got more money than anyone you'll ever meet. Secondly, where would they run away? They're working with governments. They're public listed companies. They own exchanges. They own cryptocurrencies. They funded all of the biggest currencies and exchanges on the planet. Where are they going to go? For what? So there's no way to go, nowhere to hide. They're open, they're public, they're transparent. They're very, very public figures. They're at the top of the table in the entire crypto and blockchain conversation. All of the big companies look at them as the kings of the industry. Nowhere to go. So this has never happened. And that's what I'm saying, that it doesn't, you can call it what you like. You can call it names and throw stones at it. That doesn't change what it is. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't change what it is. And so when you call this names, it's just your lack of knowledge, awareness, your history, and your pain speaking. There's no common sense speaking when you come and describe this as some other nonsense Billy Bob deal. And there are loads of those out there. You'd be right 9.5 out of 10 times. But here, you would be so wrong. And the only reason that you would tarnish this with the same brush as the nonsense out there is because you couldn't be bothered to do the due diligence.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. You know, Prash and I were having a bit of a philosophical conversation about the haters the other day. And what we were saying was people that are hating on this thing are doing it from the external position. Because if you're on the inside of it and you're getting paid every day, I'm not saying anything bad about getting paid every day.
You're not even the paid every day part, because even Ponzi's pay out every day. Scammers pay out every day in the beginning. And then one day they stop.
Yeah, and it just goes
every
away.
Day is not the thing that makes it not that. I'm saying forget all of that. Look at who these guys are, and then say whatever the method of rewards were, doesn't matter. Are these guys capable of producing the rewards for you? And the answer is, if you even look a little bit under the hood, categorically, can a Ferrari drive fast? Yes, it can.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the comments that I've seen on my YouTube videos are related to people and their tolerance to risk. They're not willing to risk $300, so they go away and write all these nasty comments about it. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to risk $300, well, this is not for you. Just look away.
And it's often those guys. They're not entrepreneurs anyway in the first place. So you know, they're people that will. That's just what they do. And so most of these people, like I said, and you pointed out as well, they're looking at something from the outside and making a judgment without doing any due diligence. And you know, fair enough. That's their choice. They have every right to do that. People ignored every great opportunity on the planet at some point.
And that's what
I say. Another one
too.
of those moments.
I don't delete those comments. I leave them right there because
absolutely,
it adds value to the conversation because it gets people to think about what's actually going on, and it shows both sides of the story. And it's not for me to censor somebody's
opinion. It's important, exactly.
Either as well. Kalpas, just moving on from that, there's some great things that are happening here with this company. Can you maybe just give us a little bit of a look into your version of your future about where you think this is going to go and where it's going for you and what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I'd love to. Listen, I've been blessed to have seen this from the very, very earlier days. And so it's evolved so much since we saw it. When we saw it, it was only $1,000 option to get in. So the little guys that complain and make all the noise didn't have a choice. And anyone that was coming in, if they're going to part with $1,000, they did a little bit more homework than lazy people do. So I don't know, maybe the $300 was a mistake, right? Because that's when you attract the people that start throwing stones at something without looking at it. But, you know, it's $1,000 to get in. If you had an Android, you could get in. If you had an iPhone or a laptop, you couldn't get in. There was no website. It was only an Android app. Yeah. So there were barriers, right? So we built in those early days, and the rest has evolved over time, right? These guys are different in every single thing that they do. Everything they've said they're going to deliver, they've delivered so far. They've never oversold anything or overhyped anything or overpromised anything. They've got history. So everything that they put on the table already exists. And then there's future projects. But I was blessed enough to meet Ryan Zhu, our founder, just 4 months ago in Dubai. We were invited to dinner with the CEO and the marketing team. Ryan Zhu gave us a surprise visit, and I got to spend the evening talking, and myself and a couple of other big leaders in the company sat on a table and just chilled out and talked. And I was cheeky enough to grab my camera and record a moment. So I grabbed a few minutes of footage with Ryan sharing his kind of insights and vision. And he was very clear. Some of the things he said that evening, this will be the first direct selling company in the world that will create billionaires. Now, that's not going to be from the pay plan. That's going to be from the opportunities within the company. So if I look back at my 16 months with them, they've offered me 8 different cryptocurrency projects. When I say offered me, they've not offered it to sell to me. They don't sell us cryptocurrencies. They tell us about projects they think have a future. And every time they've highlighted or spotlighted a company, independently as members of the community, we get that information first. And if we want to, we can act on that information. And I've gone into the marketplace, gone to an independent exchanges and purchased a pile of those cryptocurrencies that this company had evaluated and thought, yep, this has got legs. Simple little thing, right? And on each and every one of them, I multiplied whatever amounts I purchased several fold. Nice. 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times or more every time. And they just recently made another announcement a couple of weeks ago. We just started mining. The coin they decided to mine,
the Filecoin, right?
Is a coin called Filecoin.
Yeah.
When you look at Filecoin, it is a world-class blue chip multi-billion-dollar project funded by the biggest brands on the planet.
And that's what you're talking about, how blockchain's going to change everything, because Filecoin is the kind of the genesis of all of this and the way that technology is distributed and stored and how you can build an internet on another planet. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah. Web 3.0, as people are now calling it. This is like, it is the future of the internet. And so Filecoin is a huge project that is all built around storage, which is a huge part of the world right now. Anyway, millions of people around the world pay for storage that is hackable, that is accessible, that is abusable. All of a sudden, you can now pay for storage that is not hackable, not abusable, not available to anybody other than you. Whoa, I'm in. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what was supposed to happen the first time? At what point did we say, yeah, Facebook, you can take my pictures and plagiarize them and do what you want, or take my data, take my clicks and sell them to other people? It was all, do you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't really, the road that we wanted to travel down.
I'm not sure brings
that back into the game.
Facebook, I don't think Facebook wanted to be on that road either, if you look at that closely, but they didn't have any other option. There was no other way. And
exactly. At some point, they had to monetize their proposition, and they crossed their own lines, and off it went in another direction, right? Yeah. Blockchain keeps those lines clean. And so, when you study the Filecoin project, one of many great projects out there, you realize that this is the world I want to live in. If we're going to do it, then let's lead by example. And so I'm like, great. And all of a sudden, we've now got the 8th phenomenal project they've brought to the table. So these things they bring to us internally. And now they're offering us members only the opportunity to mine Filecoin with them. So now I'm telling my friends, listen, there's a phenomenal project. These are hooks. I don't need to pitch them on network marketing. I don't need to pitch them on the multi-level. I can just say, Prash, listen, have you heard of Filecoin? No. Watch this little 2-minute video, 3-minute video. Check this out. What are your thoughts? We engage in a conversation. What do you think about this being the future? Can you see it's a better future than what we've got right now? Yep. Wonderful. Do you reckon that company's going to do well? Oh, it couldn't it? Yeah. Would you like to profit from that? Yep. Guess what? I can get you in on the inside. I can get you that coin at the mining stage. Are you in? Of course. How do I do that? Join HyperFund. And then you can go and buy some of that.
That's a beautiful hook. And I think that for me and Rob, I know you were keen to allude to it as well. I think that ties in with what Rob was alluding to earlier, which is there are good opportunities coming up. So for yourself, where do you see two things that commonly come up are, obviously we've heard this, right? How can they afford to pay us? How do they make all this money to afford to pay members these kind of crazy rates? Like no bank, nobody's doing that. No. And then the second thing people ask is it actually going to last? Is it going to go away? And you're kind of speaking to this beautiful picture. Can you fill in the gaps a little bit and speak to those things a little bit, Kalpesh?
Yeah, for sure. For me, so first of all, how do they do it? You've only got to look at their history to see how they do it. These guys have come from nothing, and in a few short years have built not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but multiple billion-dollar projects. So that's not normal. You say, oh yeah, Microsoft built $1 billion company. First of all, it took them 10 years to build $1 billion company, and they built $1 billion company in 10 years. Jeff Bezos built $1 trillion company over 34 years. Great achievements, but when you measure what they've done in the time span, and they've done it in one thing, I've not met anyone that's done loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of $1 billion projects. I don't know no one's done that. And in 6 years, what are you like? So can they turn nothing into something? Yes, because that's when a brand new industry like this shows up. Whoever takes the first mover advantage, knows what they're doing, and gets on with it, can do that. These guys have proven it. So they're not speculating. We're not speculating now. Can they produce 0.5% a day? Don't believe in the future. believe in what they've done.
Mm.
I can tell you I can make you 15% a month, and you'd be right to question it. And you say, Kalpesh, how do we know? Oh, well, I've seen some things and I reckon it could go. Then we go into that territory. There's no evidence of anything. Sorry, Kalpesh has never made 15% a month. These guys have, and more, and then some. They've made thousands of percent a year, multiple times in multiple projects over and over and over again. So that 0.5% a day for them, that 180% a year for them, doubling a project's value in a year is not even work in this industry for these guys. So forget about your worries about can they do the 0.5% a day. They can every day of the week, right? Sustainability, that's a better question to ask. Can it be sustained? Because of the rebuy option inside the system, absolutely not. You cannot sustain that, the concept of multiplying money over and over and then rolling it over. You can't sustain that growth curve forever. You'd use up all the money on the planet and then some within a few years. All right. So it's not a forever conversation. You can for a space of time. And what they do is they are allowing you to buy a membership now. This is the offer now. When I came in, it was 3.5 times your money. Now it's 3 times. Then they're going to drop it to 2.5 times. Then it's going to be 2 times. So they're controlling the numbers. They know their numbers. They know what they can do. They know what obligations they can meet. They're never going to commit to something that they can't deliver. They are not going to mess up their phenomenal track record, history, positioning, and their future for some stupid mistake in a network marketing opportunity that only had one purpose for them: bring us 30 million customers, and together as a community, we will all benefit from a multi-billion-dollar IPO. That's their promise. Their promise is not that we're going to get you 15% minimum every month for the rest of your life. That would be delusional to think that's what they're offering. They're offering us 15% a month now, today, while it's fresh and new and still trending and moving, and opportunities are enough and abundant for them to continue doing that. And as the market gets more saturated and more competitive and changes shape, they'll keep moving their numbers according to what they need to at that point in time. So I'm not knocking on people's doors saying, listen, this is it for the rest of your life. No, this is it right now. Take advantage of the moment. This ain't going to happen again. Just like the dot-com boom was then, it's not now. Just like the mobile phone opportunity was back then 30 years ago, it's not now. You can sell mobile phones now. You are never going to make the kind of money my cousin made back in the early 90s. He's making whatever it was, like £1,000 per phone, and the phones were selling for 300 quid. So you'd retail a phone for 300 quid and the company would pay him £1,000 commission for doing it. That ain't going to happen again today. That happened then because they wanted customer acquisition. So we just have to understand the timing, the positioning, and the purpose, and then all of it makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. I think you articulate that beautifully, and I like to sum that up by saying sometimes things look too good to be true, but I kind of think that's a glass half empty. I prefer to say right place, right time. And in business and in life, timing is absolutely everything. Over the course of my business career, you guys, I don't know how it's worked for you, but I've come to believe in a thing which I call synchronicity. I believe that everything happens to you at the moment that it's supposed to happen, and you only experience what it is that you're supposed to experience in this experience that you're having. So, if you're discovering this video and you're seeing this video, it's, that's because you're supposed to see this video.
That there's no coincidence here.
Synchronicity, bro. Boys. Synchronicity.
Bro, Rob, we started our podcast careers, together, right? 3 years ago, right?
A couple of years ago.
You set up the Go All In brand. I set up Urban Spirituality, and I talk about it with guests all the time. Cups, I know this is in your blood, right? Synchronicity, synchro destiny, as Chopra calls it, And I love talking about it on, Urban Spirituality on the podcast, that's what this is. If you can intuit and put aside your prejudices, your preconceptions, your projections, your misgivings, and just look at this opportunity with heart, and I call it with love and logic. That do a bit of both. Bring your love, bring your logic, bring your emotions, bring your intellect, combine them with your intuition, and then make a decision. And these sorts of conversations are just here to help you to make that right decision.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I want to close this out with some final thoughts, gentlemen. And I want to ask you, I'm going to go first, but I want you guys to share what you think as well. What your biggest aha moment has been with HyperFund. And so, like I said, I'll go first. And for me, it's only been a couple of months, but the biggest aha moment for me has been when I look really closely at this business model, it looks like they've taken all of the really crappy parts out of all business models and flushed them. And when the penny dropped for me, I was like, oh, that's how it works. That's why they're doing it. That's how it's happening. And it feels like I'm a deeply I love complicated things. I love really complicated things. And this thing at its surface level is dead simple. It's really easy to understand. Put your money in, get a 3x return, get paid 0.5% every day. That's it. Simple, really simple. But when you look at all the goings on behind it in blockchain and all these companies and all these different things that are happening, I love the complexity of that. And I can see how it all comes together. And when I realized what it was and how it was happening and how it was coming together, I was like, oh my God, this is like really cool. I'm in for the long term with this, and I'm going to go all in on this, and I'm going for it. So that's been me. What about you, Prash? We'll let Kalpesh go last as the guest. What about you?
I think my biggest realization has been that I shouldn't let my prejudices and previous. I've been burnt with different opportunities in the past, MLMs and Ponzi's and pyramids and things disguised as MLMs, all kinds, everything in between, and crypto. So I think I came in with that prejudice mindset. And I think the biggest realization for me was, if I can learn, as I just said a little while ago, if I can put aside that and put a little bit of the effort in, and I know Kalps, you're a big advocate of this, right? Just take some time aside, look with your open mind and heart and study it. And when I saw it, I still didn't go for it. So the biggest aha for me was, sometimes you got to take a risk. Don't make a $300 or $1,000 decision stop you from the potentially biggest opportunity you'll see in this lifetime. Don't let it stop you. $300 or $1,000 for most people, not everyone, but for most. And I think when I sold it to myself that way, I recalibrated the risk. I brought up a bit of my intuition. I danced around naked around a fire and did a pendulum and a goat sack. I'm kidding. I didn't do any of that. But I used my intuition and my intellect, and I thought, wait a minute, can I park? Am I going to make this a really big decision? No, $300 or $1,000. That's all it is. Let me put it in. Let me see what happens. Kalpesh, Ollie, there are so many good people here who are doing it, and I trust these guys. If they're getting something, why don't I give it a whirl? So I actually did that, and the realization is sometimes don't overthink it. Go in, get in on the inside. Don't lick the jar of honey from the outside. Open the lid, dip your finger in, taste the honey, and once you do your due diligence side by side, and then be a better judge of what's happening. And then keep an open mind. Have the faith, man.
Yeah, beautifully said. Kalps, what about you, mate? What's been close it out for us with the biggest aha moment for you, because you're the one with the most experience in it here.
The biggest aha moment, and I've mentioned it already in the Zoom, and I'll say it again. The biggest aha moment was when I verified that Ryan Zhu and Sam Lee and Jaden Wee are who they are. Like, they are the people behind this project. Their names aren't being used, and they're not some fictitious characters that nobody's ever met. So when I realized that these guys are the ones launching this project, the rest for me was history. I knew there was no questioning about, is blockchain the future? Are there legs here? Is this going to go somewhere? There was none of that going on for me. I already knew. I was waiting for an opportunity in blockchain. I knew I wanted to get into blockchain. Every company I looked at in the last 6 years just didn't tick my boxes. So I was willing to wait until it happened. And when this happened, it was my moment. So it's almost like, preparation, when preparation meets opportunity, bang, you've got the moment. For me, it was that. I was waiting. And I was willing to wait as long as I had to, because it was inevitable that the right project would come. And when it landed, all I had to do was recognize it, verify it was what I wanted it to be, and boom, the rest is history. And we are on our way to something spectacular. This company is going to be spoken about for decades. There's a company in the 90s that broke all records called Excel. There's a book called The Excel Phenomenon. And I remember reading that book in the 90s about this telecom company in the US that went from 0 to 1 billion through network marketing and broke every record on the planet, and eventually sold to Sprint Telecom, I think it was, for gazillions of dollars. This is that moment again. Those moments don't happen often, but when they do, you have just got to give it everything you got. I know people in that company that made hundreds of millions in the 90s in network marketing in just 10 years, hundreds of millions as distributors.
Amazing.
Never happened again since, until now. It's that moment again.
It's happening.
Because telecoms was deregulated back then. It was, it was the same of it. And its time, it was the biggest trend at the right time with the biggest company. Boom. And they did it. Yeah, there's a book written about it. If I can find it, I would have loved to have shown it to you. I think I'll pull it and read it somewhere. But yeah, I just read it recently just to refresh my brain of the story, right? So
I'll find the link and put it in the show notes at some point. Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. My bottom line is that this doesn't happen often, and it's happening right now. So if you can't recognize this, it's going to be one of two places, man. The people that said no to XL in the 90s, I bet you to this day they are crying. Bet you to this day they're crying. And the ones that said yes are retired and laughing and living a great life. This is that moment. Grab it and run. What a fantastic way to round out the show. Thank you so much for coming on and spending some time here with Prash and I. We really appreciate it, mate. Thanks, Prash. Gentlemen, look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye for now.
Real pleasure, Rob. Thank you so much for having me. And Prash, thanks for arranging this. Much love, buddy. Mwah.
Well.